Hello and welcome. Post doing a session on project installs, I thought of doing another video on some handy-dandy dev tools that we'll be using through this course. So in this lesson, we'll look at some of the developer tools and extensions that I use to enable rapid development. For this purpose, and to illustrate some of these things, I've actually gone ahead and cranked up a Playground project here, as you see on the screen. And it is actually a React project which is created using the Create React App NPM library or NPM package. I'm going to go ahead and fire up the application up front. So in order to do this, we would also need a couple of installables. One of them is NPM itself. And if I go ahead and type NPM -version here, it should actually give me the version of NPM here. And NPM generally gets installed as part of your Node.js install. Whenever you install Node.js, it kind of comes baked in along with Node.js install. Okay, so for example, if I do a node -version here, so that was -version. I needed an additional hyphen there, so that's the version of Node.js that we're running here. So let me go ahead and clear the screen here and then fire up this application. I'm going to say npm start, and this should bring up the built-in app or play around app that comes baked in with Create React App for the structure that we have created here. Alright, so let's see how we can go about looking at some of the extensions and the developer tools that will essentially help us sail through this app building process. So this is how the built-in app that comes with the npx Create React App folder structure looks like. I'm going to enable the inspect mode here. Essentially allows me to look at the console and also the network tabs, which is generally what I'm interested in. For the most part, of course, we'll also be looking at the Elements tab here, and as well as the Application tab, where we can look at the session storage and the local storage and the cookies. Okay, so I'll head over back to the VS Code editor here. So in here we have our app.js, which is some play around code that comes along with the Create React App. And I'll go over to the extensions tab here. I think this is the one here. So here I have a few extensions that are installed. So the first one is the ES7 React snippet. So let me go ahead and check that. I think it was ES7. Yeah, this is the one. Okay. Let me go ahead and pull this a little wider. This essentially gives us some interesting code snippets as we go through the building process. Okay. So as the name says here, it gives us some quick JS snippets whenever we're trying to build up of the classes and other functions related codes and all the boilerplate related to the code as far as React is concerned. Just to illustrate, right? So I think they do have some interesting bit of information here. Feature contributions, changelog. Let me see if they actually have any examples in here. Press the following command and press enter. Okay. Windows Control P. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'll head over back to the source here. I'll go ahead and create a folder called components. Okay, and inside of here, I'll just go ahead and create a test component here. I'm going to say test component.js. Okay, and in order to generate the boilerplate code here, I'll have to use a shorthand. Okay, which is essentially provided by this particular extension. So let's see what we can do. So I'm essentially want to create a React arrow function and export it, obviously. So I'm going to be using RAFCE here. Okay, and boom, it actually gives us this code. So that's really handy. So that's one of the very interesting and very neat things that we get with this particular extension. And another thing that I want to also show here is the extension that is called Bracket Colorizer. Okay, let me go back here to the extensions here. Yeah, this is the one, Bracket Pair Colorizer. Okay, essentially what happens is that if you look right now, all our brackets are colored differently. So if you look at the flower braces here, it's yellow in color, and then you have the regular brackets here, which is slightly pinkish in color. And let's say if you want to do something here in terms of let's say define another function here, let's say So I'm going to say const render, say test component, and this is going to be an arrow function. I'm just going to say it's going to return a, let's say, inside of empty fragments. Okay, and this is going to be an h2, let's say, that says hello world, hello React. I think that'll be more appropriate. So if we look here right now, everything is appropriately colored, so it essentially helps our development process as well as to catch bugs. Super. So let's go to another one. I will go over to another one is called turbo log or something like that. I think that was console. Yeah, turbo console log. Okay. So let's say I actually go ahead here and do a little bit of console logging here. Okay. So let's say I define a new state. For example, I'm going to go ahead and import the use state here. Okay. In order to do that, I can say imru. This is again imru is, yeah, this is the one. Okay, this is the shortcut again coming from the ES7 React extension. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new state here. I'm going to say name, set name, set it to use state of, let's say, React. Let's say I want to do some logging here, console logging. Ideally, I would have printed CLG, okay? And I think let's go ahead and do both of them. I'm going to say CLG name. If you save this right now, it'll actually go ahead and save. Okay, it's going to print the whole stuff in here, actually. Actually, let me go ahead and do a 50-50 view here. All right, so that's a good view here. All right, so let's go ahead and console log this particular state. I'm going to use the conventional console log here using the CLG shorthand, and I'm going to say name, and it should print me the name here right now. Yeah, there we go. It says print. It printed React here. Let's go ahead and do the logging using this particular turbo console here, and I'm going to say Shift Alt L, or was it Control Alt L? Yeah, there we go, and it prints us the line number and as well as the name of the variable itself here. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this, and let's take a look at how it happens here. So this is actually a logging that stands out here, so it's very handy in terms of debugging, or in general it stands out. So that's the biggest advantage here. And the next one is obviously import cost. It'll allow us to look at the size of the library that we're actually trying to import. So for example, let's say I want to import the link class from link. From, let's say, React Router DOM. Okay, I think React Router DOM is not installed here, apparently. Okay, let's go ahead and install another package here. It's going to be, I'm going to open another PowerShell window. I'm going to say npm I Lodash, and hopefully it should finish quickly. In here, I'm going to import Lodash by saying import underscore from Lodash. Okay, and when you look here, this is actually calculating the size of the library itself here. Okay, so that is the advantage of this particular extension. And the other one, obviously, is going to be the REST client. Okay, this is going to be handy for our API development, where we can have a REST client right inside here. Okay, so for example, if I, let's say, go right out of here, and I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call it rest.http. Yeah, okay. And I'm going to do a comment here. Let's say get Google homepage. Right, so I'm going to essentially create a request for getting the Google homepage here. Okay, so I'm going to say get https google.com, and if you go ahead and click on send request, it should actually give us the homepage markup here. Okay, so it's very handy. As I said, you can also specify different headers here in terms of accept application, let's say text, okay, and other stuff like, let's say if it's a post, then you can also set content type as application JSON and all those kinds of stuff. Okay, so we'll be able to essentially explore this in detail when we get to the API segment. Alright, let's go back to the extensions here. The other one obviously is ngrok. So with ngrok, it'll allow us to have an internet address for our local host. So what I mean by that is, let's go ahead and click on view here and go to the command palette. And I'm going to say ngrok. And it asks me to essentially gives me a couple of options, and I'll go ahead and choose ngrok start here, and it should quickly give me a URL that says, okay, it is asking for which ports. I'm going to essentially choose 3000 here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and copy this to the clipboard and go back to my browser here. Yeah, there we see it. So right now this is the ngrok URL. Right now my local host is exposed through this URI. So essentially it acts as a proxy and forwards all the requests that could be coming from here to my local host. Okay, so that's also going to be very handy. I also have Tab9, which is a trial version apparently. This is not a pro version. And apparently it also gives me some interesting, very intelligent auto-suggests whenever we're doing the imports. Right, and whenever we're doing the coding, it's the autocomplete and also auto-suggest. So that's also quite handy. And I think that's about it. So we covered ES7 React snippets, we covered bracket pair colorizer, we covered ngrok, we covered React Client, Turbo Console, import cost, and Tab9. And the other one that I wanted to tell you also was that some of the browsers that we're going to use. I'll be predominantly using the Chrome browser for most of my development, and in cases where I want to simulate multiple user sessions, I'll also be bringing in Firefox. So let's go over to the Chrome browser here, and if I go here right now, I also have some interesting Chrome developer tool here. Okay, so for example, this one. This is essentially a Chrome developer tool for React components, where you can actually inspect the React components, look at their state. So for example, if I change it here, let me go back to the code base here again. So if I change the state here, for example, say we'll make it React World. This is the new state that gets reflected here. So essentially it allows you to look at the state and the props and all that component related information as it is represented in the virtual DOM of React. And essentially the way you can get it is by going to Google. Let's head over here, and if you go look at the Chrome Web Store, you can look for React development. Let's look for React Dev developer tools. Yeah, that's the one. And yeah, this is the one that I'm referring to here. So if you click on this, it essentially allows you to add it here, and it's a very quick process apparently. Okay, and this is very handy as well. Right, so I think those are some of the tools that would be tools and extensions that we'll be using during the course of this whole process of building the app, whether it's front end or the back end. Right, so those can be very handy. So just want to make sure we are on the same page when we get to the app building process. It allows us to move forward quickly on the build-up process. So let's take a quick break here. We'll come back and continue on the next steps.